Salutations, Globe Earth Sheeple. Welcome to Mystic Mind Shrine. Those who don't know, Mystic Mind Shrine is a fat guy and a skinny guy in the Detroit area, and we focus on rogue decks especially, but we'll pretty much post anything as long as it's got something spicy in it, but definitely with a focus on rogue decks, and especially just original creations. That's kind of our thing. We like to see originality and spicy choices in this game rather than net decks. It's fine if you choose to net deck, we just don't really want to post it on our channel. So this is my Prank Kids stun deck. I do not play the Brave engine, and I wanted to see if I could compete with pure Prank Kids with a few floodgates to give me an advantage, and it went pretty well. Got top 8, and let's get into the deck without further ado. Triple Dropsies, triple Lampsies, and triple Fansies. These are the best Prank Kids. We do not skimp on the ratios because this is pure and we don't need to cut any of these to fit our Brave engine in. And then the last Prank Kid monster we play is one Roxy's. I think Roxy's is the worst Prank Kid. You really don't want to draw him at all. So I cut him down to 1. I've never wanted more than 1 of this card. I think it's absolutely fine. My logic is that I'd much rather draw the field spell than I'd draw Roxy's every time. 10 times out of 10, I'd rather get the +1 and the chain blocking and attacks modification off the field spell than I would draw Roxy's. So that's my Prank Kids lineup, 10 monsters. And then this card is amazing. Parallel Exceed. It's like Poor Man's Brave because it chain blocks your first Prank Kid effect. And it gives you a higher ceiling because you can make good Exceed monsters with it. So what we're doing in this deck, since this is a stun deck, is we actually, this is basically 3 more copies of Floodgate because you either make Dweller or Baguska off of it. And usually we just make Baguska blind going first because this deck can play around Baguska very well. And Baguska is just like another skill drain or Mystic Mind. So Parallel Exceed, I think it's actually amazing in this deck. It's definitely my chain blocker. Hand trap lineup, we got triple Ash, triple Ogre, and triple Bell. I switched the hand trap lineup up for this tournament. It was triple Ash, triple Veiler, triple Imperm, but I decided to go with these 2, and it worked pretty well. Ghost Ogre, yeah, it definitely covered a lot of ground for me. Bell was really good too. I mainly was just trying to hit the Aquamancer with the Bell, and I actually did hit 1 or 2 of them with it, and it served its purpose. So these all did pretty good as a hand trap lineup. Usually I'd play more hand traps, but in this deck we got floodgates, so we had to make a little bit of room. For a field spell package, we got 1 terraforming and triple place, and then, you know, the namesake of the channel, triple Mystic Mind. So, like I said, I'd rather draw the field spell than I'd rather draw a Prank Kid's name because the field spell gives you a +1 and it just gives you a lot of utility. So I really wanted to max out on the field spell. So I played Terraforming 2. Since I'm not playing the Brave version of the deck, it does not care about droll at all. You just, if they droll you, you just send whatever you wanted off of Fansies and add it back off of Doodle. So you do not care about droll in the slightest. And then this deck can play around Mystic Mind very easily. You can just, this is one of the very few decks in the game where you can actually activate this going first and set it up because you just end on Bow Wow. You do your full combo, but you don't special summon the last Prank Kid. You just leave Bow Wow up. And then as soon as you put Mystic Mind down, and as soon as your opponent summons a monster, you chain Bow Wow's effect to tag out and add 2 monsters from your grave to hand. So your opponent is now locked under Mystic Mind, and if they're able to out it, you still have all your fusion plays ready to go. So we just kind of put our opponent, this deck is a very, like I said, very floodgate heavy, very stun heavy. It's basically just a stun deck with extra steps. Mystic Mind burn with extra steps, but that's what we do here, man. We need something unfair, and I actually didn't even see mine like at all in this tournament, but I know it's done very well for me before whenever I do see it. So I didn't really need it for this tournament, but I do like it. So we played 2 of Pandemonium. I'm going to probably try cutting this to 1. The only reason I played it at 2 is because I feel like it makes the Mystic Mind loop a little bit easier. if you have 2 of them, but I'm definitely going to try it at 1 just to see if I can still do the loop consistently enough. You know, in the stun version, a lot of people are cutting this anyway, even in the brave version, so don't really need 3 of it. And I play 1 pranks. I've seen people upping this because it is an extender, which is fine. I just play 1 of them. I've never really wanted more of it. The discard isn't great. It has to be a prank kids card that you discard too. So I prefer extenders that don't make me discard. But this card is really great. Like, this card is literally just multi-roll for prank kids. It recycles your whole extra deck, or your whole main deck. This is one of the craziest grinding recycling cards in the game. It's very, very strong. It prevents you from decking out under Mystic Mine also, so part of that win condition if your opponent tries to deck you out. And for extenders, we got 1 instant, 1 for 1. This is like the best extender in the deck. Like, if you have this in your hand, you can just play into nib all you want, and once they nib you, you just drop this and bring out Rocket, special 2 back, and you're good. Like, this is a really strong extender, obviously. And this one's great too because this is a starter and an extender. So this can help you play through Interruption, or if it's the only thing you draw, it's perfectly reasonable starter to get fansies. So I like both of these cards a lot, would never cut either of them. And then for the 1 Call by the Grave, in this deck there ain't much to say about it because, you know, it's not really a controversial choice for a deck that, you know, would lose to an Ash on the normal. So Call by is great. I play 1 Metaverse. This is just for Mystic Mine, obviously, or in a pinch I can add the Prank Kids Field spell to hand. It's pretty funny if you end on a Bow Wow and tag it out and then lock your opponent under Mystic Mine with this. I don't think it really came up, but it was good. In all my previous testing of it, Metaverse was fine. So then we play Triple Skill Drain as the other floodgate in the main deck. So your deck can play under Skill Drain extremely well because all the Prank Kids monsters tribute for cost, so they will still resolve. Doodle tributes for cost to add 2. You know, Washer tributes for cost to special summon. Butler tributes for cost to blow up the field. So the only thing you really miss out on with Skill Drain is the ability to attack directly with Rocket and the search off of Doodle. But you can, like I said, just dump whatever you need off of Fansies. And so the thing that happens here is when we have Skill Drain with Mystic Mine up, the deck really does become just Mystic Mine burn with extra steps because, like I said, you can't attack your opponent directly. That's how you do the Mystic Mine loop without Skill Drain up, is you just keep poking directly with Rocket, then tribute it, special 2 monsters, link those off for Doodle, and tribute to Doodle, so now you have no monsters on the field. But when you have both of these up, all you can do is normal summon, link into Meow Meow, gain 1,000, special Lampsies, link those 2 into Doodle, burn for 500, tribute Doodle, add them back to hand, pass turn. So it's very, very, you simplify the game state extremely much with these 2 cards. Your opponent can't play at all, and you can play just enough to burn them to death. It's very funny. It's cheesy, but, you know, that's what we do here. Mostly stun decks, at least the ones that Mike and I make. So the last card in the main deck is another little bit of spice, which is Prank Kids Place. Or plan, excuse me. So this is the trap for the archetype, and no one really knows about it or plays it, or they'll just say it's bad and not even like read it. But it's searchable by sending it off of Fansies, and it says you can link summon on the main phase. So what you do versus a Backrow deck or any deck that puts problematic Backrow is you use this on the main phase on your opponent's turn or your turn, and you go into Roaring Roaster, which is the link 4 that is like a quick effect Feather Duster. And you once they set all the back row on the end phase, you just tribute Roaster for cost to blow up all their back row. So this is an auto win button against back row decks. And I know they have fallen out of the format in a lot of places, but at my locals, people still play. Like, there was like literally like 7 or 8 Eldritch players in this tournament. Luckily, I didn't run into any of them, but I saw them everywhere. So this card, I think, is just super slept on. And it also has the effect where when your opponent's monster attacks, you can banish it from graveyard to recycle as many Prank Kids cards as you want in your graveyard, and the opponent's attacking monster loses 100 for each. So this card can actually recycle more than Pranks can. In one single go, you can recycle 30 cards out of your graveyard. It's a crazy comeback play, and your opponent will always forget about it being in the graveyard. So really, really recommend this card in the main deck. Some people like side it for the back row matchups, but like I said, my locals have a lot of stun, and like if I know someone personally and I know they play stun decks, I'll just send this right away, and they'll probably even scoop once they see me link into roaster, because it's game over from that point. Literally auto win button against Backrow decks. Extra deck, one Meow Meow. So a lot of people really hate that this card went to 1, but I actually really love that it went to 1 because it makes the deck more skillful. You have to manage resources better with this card at 1, and it kind of weeds out the Prank Kids players who just wanted to go crazy with the 1-card combo every turn without even thinking. I actually really like that this went to 1. I think it was a fantastic hit, and it made the deck more interesting and fun to play, in my opinion. So you got to blind going first. You will always leave it in the graveyard. I've heard some people say like, oh no, you want to always recycle it. No, blind going first, you want to leave it in the graveyard just in case you have to play against a deck that can survive 2 Butler wipes, or survive a single Butler wipe, so that this gives you the second wipe. You definitely want to leave this in graveyard if you don't know what your opponent's playing, because there's a lot of combo decks, especially in this format, who can easily play through 1 board wipe, and that second one from the Butler is going to be really clutch. So leave it in graveyard, blind going first. But if you're playing against a control deck, you know you're playing against a control deck, you definitely recycle it and just keep looping Weather Washer. I play 3 Doodle Doo. This is a card that does like all the heavy lifting in your extra deck. It's basically Salamangreat's Sunlight Wolf, but better because it searches. Excuse me. And I've seen people actually cutting this card to 2, and I don't think that is a good idea at all. Like, I would never want to cut this card to 2. I don't want to have to waste a recycle on bringing this back. This is a 3 of. I really truly think that this is a 3 of. So something funny so I lost in Top Cut, unfortunately. However, in game 2, he Winter Cherried. He was playing Flunder. He Winter Cherried my Doodle Doo, so all of them got ripped out of the extra deck, and I actually made, using Bow Wow, I was able to go into IP plus Avermax, and I still won the game that I got Winter Cherried. Unfortunately, I lost game 3 because he had Dimension Shifter and 2 Harpy's Featherstorms, so I just wasn't going to play no matter what. But I was able to actually win the game just because of these guys, even though my Doodle got cherried, which I thought was quite hilarious. Usually that's an auto loss, but yeah, like I said, 1 Bow Wow. Some people play multiples of it. It can definitely come up, like the attack boost and everything helps you go for game. But I think 1 is just fine for me. I've never really found myself wanting more copies of it. This is like one of the best, another one of the best cards in the extra deck, because you can, just the fact that it protects all your monsters from destruction is amazing, because you make your fusion bosses indestructible, and it's like the Misk of the deck. It just makes it that much harder to beat your board. And then I played the 1 Roaring Roaster. This is a card that wipes your opponent's back row. You're definitely going to want the option to have this in the back row matchups, or even against like Pendulum. There was a Pen Magician player, shout out to Saith, who made Top Cut also. And this is a really good card against Endymion. Like, this is, you, instead of Battle Butler versus Endymion, you go into this and you just wipe their back row toys, so they can't make Mighty Master on you. And then IP and Avermax, like I said, it's kind of a budget access code replacement. Still don't own the access code, but like I said, this combo won me a game. He's untargetable, and when you make him with this guy, he becomes indestructible too. And some decks like Flunderies literally don't have an out to that at all. So he can help you close games out. He can help you set up going first if you get interrupted. I really like that package, and it won me a game that I otherwise would have lost. For the fusions, play 1 Rocket, 1 Washer, 1 Bow Wow. This guy is like Soul Charge. He's pretty good. I usually don't make him turn 1, but he's a good follow-up play. And then Weather Watcher, this is the card that you go into against control decks. He's also a Soul Charge, but he's a quick effect on your opponent's turn. And he makes the monsters that he Soul Charges back indestructible by battle. So when you combine him with Bow Wow, your monsters are pretty much unkillable. They can't be destroyed by card effects or by battle. And this card is what you do against every control deck. It just outgrinds Strikers, Shaddolls, pretty much every control deck. This is the one you want to go into. And I actually did not make Butler once in this entire 7-round tournament. I made only Weather Washer, and he just carried me the entire way. So, and then there's obviously Battle Butler. He's the main boss of the deck. He says Regeki for 2 on your opponent's turn or your turn. Great against combo decks. Just a fantastic card, especially when he's indestructible off Bow Wow. But I didn't end up making him. You know, some tournaments you'll go an entire tournament without making him once, and sometimes you'll go an entire tournament without making this guy once. So it's great to have the option to go into both. That's what we love about Prank Kids. There's a toolbox versatility. And then the last card in the extra deck are my Xyz package of 1 Dweller, 1 Paguska, and the Spice, which is Giant Hand, and of course Zeus. So Dweller is just amazing against the mirror match, against Phantom Knights. We all know Dweller is fantastic. So if I know my opponent's playing any of those decks, I'll go into Dweller. But blind going first, I think Baguska is the spice, because this deck can still make all of its link plays under Baguska. And a lot of people don't play Baguska because they're worried that it turns your fusions off, which it does. But basically, it's just like a Mystic Mine, where you wait for your opponent to out it before you commit to any fusion plays. So this just sits on the field for 2 or 3 turns, locking your opponent out of the game. You can keep making link plays and going plus 2 or 3 every turn, building up your resources so that once it leaves the field, either by its own effect or if your opponent outs it, well, then all your fusions are live. So you just force your opponent to deal with this, and you can play a lot more than they can. It basically makes Peril Exceed into 3 more copies of Mystic Mine / Skill Drain. So I think Baguska is really spicy. And then we go into Giant Hand against all the decks that these two don't hurt, which is a surprising amount of matchups. Like, this card really does come up a lot. It's, for those who forgot about what this card does, it's a quick effect detach 2 target negate, and it's a continuous negate, so it's a Fog Blade on an Xyz monster. And this, like, you can hit Alistair with this, you can hit Verte Anaconda with this, you can hit, you can use it to bait a Baron and then negate the Baron. Giant Hand really does come up in this deck. I think that's probably the sauciest choice in the extra deck for me. And then Zeus, I put this in for the tournament just in case I had to make another board wipe off my Xyz. It didn't come up, but that was the philosophy. Maybe cut it for, I'll probably cut it for Verte into Thunder Dragon Fusion, into Butler. But I don't own Verte yet, so I didn't do that. And for the side, we got Triple Nib. Might switch this out for Token Collectors or Lancias, or maybe even Gamma, because hitting that Dimension Shifter off of the Flunderies is really crucial, because that card kind of just hurts you really bad, obviously. So Nib, I never drew it, and it never came up. I played against a lot of control. Or when I played against a combo deck, I just didn't need Nib. But, you know, I wanted to have it. So he's up for on the chopping block. Triple Dark Ruler. This is really just to make sure your Mystic Mine resolves. But you can also just break a board with it. It conflicts with Lampsey's, so you can't use Lampsey's effect to burn, so therefore you can't use this effect to summon either. But that's not a big deal because you're still able to use all of your other Prank Kids effects. So that confliction doesn't come up much, and it's worth it because so many boards are just ridiculous this format. If your opponent Scythe locks you, you pretty much just Dark Ruler them and slap down Mystic Mine and set Skill Drain, excuse me. So Scythe is, like, you know, not the biggest deal for this version of the deck. And I got a Backrow hate package of Duster, 2 Cosmic, Triple Evenly. I wanted 6 cards for Backrow in addition to the Roaring Roaster. These all worked pretty well when they came up, so not too much to say about that. And then the last card in the deck is the Triple Judgment. This is for obviously going first inside. There's a lot of good players at my locals, so they know that siding Twin Twister and Cosmic against Prank Kids, especially the stun version, is really good, because if you hit the Pandemonium in the standby phase or draw phase, they can't use it. So this is there for mainly just to hit that, but also it just makes... my first round, I went first, sided this, drew 2 copies of it, and I negated it evenly and the Lightning Storm, and that was that. The Lake Point, you know, reduction in time is not too much of an issue because Prank Kids obviously can just burn and gain the life points right back. So yeah, Judgment's the last card in the deck. That's Prank Kids. That's how we play Prank Kids with no Brave, and we still do well with it. So, you know, Mystic Mine Shrine, keep the earth flat. It's not a globe. It's not a globe. Don't take the microchip.